Welcome to Is Franchising Right for You? With your host, Rick Morgin. Through each episode, we'll demystify preconceived notions about franchising, both entrepreneurs franchising and those buying a franchise. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Now here's the host of Is Franchising Right for You? Rick Morgin.
Hello, Adria. To our viewing and listening audience, I just want to let them know that we have the honor and privilege of having Adria Hartwig, who is the Director of Franchise Development for Citywide Facility Solutions Franchise.
And thanks for having me, Rick. Really excited to spend some time with you.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I like having franchise companies on just to give the viewing and listening audience an example of what's out there. But there's really nothing like Citywide out there. I mean, you can almost consider it a unicorn of franchising. So, why is that? Why is it so different? And
you can absolutely consider it a unicorn. There is no other system that operates in a one territory that is protected like Citywide that gets to the numbers that we get to. So we have an average unit volume of 8 million. Our top quartile is doing over 15 million. Just extraordinary and unheard of. Those kind of numbers sometimes you might see that in a master franchise-esque model, but yes, our franchisees are doing that. And, if they've been in the system over a decade, sometimes double and triple that. So really extraordinary numbers.
So long-time franchisees can exceed the average by a substantial
significant amount. Yes.
That's been demonstrated by some franchisees. Now, it seems like as a Citywide franchisee, you got to be really good at communicating with like a white-collar professional and then a blue-collar professional. That's a real skill.
You're spot on, Rick. So that is something that we have found our franchisees, the ones that can play well in both of those worlds, tend to do very well very quickly. So I think that because we're not just a janitorial company, we offer 20 points of entry into commercial building spaces. You have to be able to really connect with those property managers, but then also connect with the independent contractors in those blue collar sectors to be able to make sure that everybody is getting what they need and the support that we need, because that's essentially what Citywide provides, is a solution and a connection between those two worlds.
So if I'm a property manager and I have 3 things go out, the advantage is that I can go to a Citywide franchisee and just make one phone call and say, the asphalt's broken, HVAC isn't working in some of the units, and I've got a leak in the roof.
Absolutely. And so the Citywide sales exec will come in and be able to provide a bid for all of those services. And I consider Citywide in that instance basically the Advil for the property manager, because they're gonna cure all their headaches, right? So they're just going to be able to have one invoice, one point of contact, not have to figure out 2 or 3 different contractors to get a fair price for those and have 3-4 different invoices to mess with. They've got one person, one text message, one invoice that they know that they've got somebody reputable and they've got somebody that they can count on and that delivers on their promises each and every time.
And I hope you don't mind if I borrow or steal that line of.
You absolutely
Citywide franchisee is your Advil.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So, no, one doesn't, as a franchise, doesn't automatically get to 8 million in average revenue. How do you help them? How do you guide them? What do you do?
So it's not a magic wand or a magic pill. You have to be an extraordinary entrepreneur to be awarded a franchise in our system. We do eliminate some of the candidates that come through that would like to be part of our system, because we just don't think that they don't have the level of experience that they need in the past to be successful. So we're quite selective on who we bring into the system. Right now, we are obviously been here franchising for over 20 years, and we just hit 103 franchisees. So our system is very, very selective, very tight knit, and we want to make sure somebody has all the tools, experience that they need to be successful in the territory. And that's really important to us, is to really consider that they've got everything that they need, the funding to build their empire. They've got to have the experience, but still enough gas left in the tank. They've got to be able to want to get out there, be a business-to-business sales leader, do that hardcore prospecting, door knocking, cold calling, all of those things that are required in those activities to really build that territory. And so that first year is a lot of work. It's not free money, but the rewards are exponential once you get past that initial phase of getting everything ramped up. It's like I kind of try to say to people, once you get that plane off the runway, it's not even into the clouds, it's to the moon, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's exceptional once you get there.
So year one, the franchisee really has to be able to, willing to wear several hats. I mean, you mentioned several activities like cold calling, prospecting, et cetera.
Absolutely. They're juggling all of those things. And so we provide exceptional support in the capacity that we try to help them take off as many hats as we can from a support standpoint. So we have what we call the Business Development Center that helps them prospect, that helps them locate independent contractors to perform the contracts that they've already sold, as well as we provide that they have to participate in our accounting department. So that eliminates them from having to really concentrate on that accounting piece and do what they need to do and focus on the main activity, which is getting out there, prospecting, making the phone ring, and growing that business in the first 12 months.
Wow, 103 franchisees. You have a tremendous number of data points on identifying common characteristics, which you can apply to prospective candidates. And did they all come from one industry, or how does a Citywide franchisee walk and talk, and what do they do?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Rick. So I'd like to point out that we got to over 700 million with under 100 franchisees. So typically when you see those kind of numbers, a system usually has 500 to 1,000 locations, maybe not franchisees, but at least locations and territories, whereas we did that with under 100. So again, just trying to hammer home that we're the unicorn franchisor in the space. But I think that person really is a business-to-business sales leader. And we talked earlier about the ability to be a chameleon and play really well with a blue-collar professional as well as a white-collar professional, and work really well in between those two worlds. We've found people that have come from commercial real estate that have been successful. We've found people that have come from a business-to-business blue-collar sales. Sometimes maybe they were selling batteries for large, Caterpillar tractors, et cetera. They were in kind of those sorts of sales roles. We have had people come from a software sales, and we just had one of our franchisees come from that industry, and they're off to a heck of a start in California. So we've seen, again, it's that business-to-business sales candidate that has been in a sales role in their past life for many years, hit President's Club every year, that type of person that knows how to prospect and has the energy, able to keep themselves emotionally up, because as we know, Rick, you're in the same capacity, you're a business-to-business salesperson in some ways. You've got to be able to handle those roller coasters, because you got to get back on that horse every morning and do those activities that we know make business-to-business sales professionals successful. So that's really what I would say. We see the key indicator of success and those personality types.
So it's a high achiever and high energy.
Yes.
And
A players. That's what we get to those numbers.
Should they have leadership experience? Is that necessary? Like managing a team?
To some degree. we've seen people that have been in an individual contributor role and do really, really well in the system if they had an extraordinary B2B sales background. But you do have to be that person that sales executives can and want to work for. You have to be that person because eventually you have to get there. You have to take yourself out of that individual contributor role at some point in that process. Maybe that's at year 2 or year 3, and bring on multiple sales execs. So we require you to have one sales executive at open. And then as you build and grow, you're going to add to that team. And so as I've talked about before, having that ability to emotionally handle your own sales roller coaster, I guess, of emotions, I think that being able to translate that into a leadership role is important too, because you've got to create a fantastic culture. You've got to be able to handle the different dynamics and personalities that come with sales divas.
Yeah.
I was one of them in my past life, and everybody on my sales team, when I was an individual contributor, looked different and was motivated by different things. So I think that leader needs to understand that and be able to kind of morph and grow into that role as the business grows.
Well, it sounds like one skill that a franchisee needs, especially when they're starting off and they have that one sales executive or sales professional, is delegating. Because
Yes,
you're going
absolutely.
to divide and conquer, put it that way.
Absolutely. Yep.
How does Citywide define territories? I mean, is it a certain number of businesses? I mean, properties, property managers, or
both. So they're divided based on population and building count. So we have identified all of our open territories that they are viable, and you're going to be able to get to that at minimum 10 million in 10 years. So we have benchmarks for all of our franchisees, and those are sort of the minimum requirements that you have to get to. And those are disclosed in our FDD, that those are some of the things that we require, and that we support you and have a very proven playbook on how to get you there. So you don't get to the average unit volume that we are at without having extraordinary training, extraordinary coaching, extraordinary support, all of the things that I would consider top notch to be able to maintain that average unit volume, because it is so unique and so attractive. But you don't get there with a magic wand. You get there with, from our standpoint, hard work, and then expecting the same from our franchisees that we bring on.
Yeah, I think it's a key point that a franchisee who's going to succeed and get to the average and above is also not going to do it alone, because it's a definite partnership between their team and the corporate team that can support them and guide them and provide that coaching on whatever they may need.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the key open markets? And before we go there, there may be some viewers or listeners who aren't familiar with an Item 19 and the FDD. So an Item 19 is always the section of the franchise disclosure document that documents the franchisee's financial performance in however which way, or if they choose to do that. So that's just for definition.
Yes, I think that's helpful, because we in the industry are acronym maniacs, and we get overzealous with them, and people will get lost. So thank you for clarifying that, because that might help some people understand what we're referring to. So that's sometimes why I like to say average unit volume, meaning that's what's happening in one territory. We have one franchisee that came on in Wichita, and I think they've maybe hit around their 5 mark. Don't quote me on that, because I don't have my notes in front of me, but right around there. And they did over 13 million last year in a what people would consider, I think, a tertiary market. I think when people think of Citywide, they think they have to be in a New York or Chicago-esque type of a market. And some of these tertiary, small Wichita, Des Moines, Omaha, Midwest markets are just killing it. So I think that mindset, when they're thinking about success, that they're both true. And we have New York open, as a matter of fact. So when we talk,
okay. So
we talk about target markets. So that's one that's open.
what are a few other target markets, whether they're primary or tertiary?
Absolutely. So we have New Orleans open, which is a phenomenal market, currently has over $700,000 in recurring revenue. So every single one of our territories has national business inside of it. So the new franchisee has the opportunity to take on that current revenue, be able to service that. I think it gives them a unique and special, almost, I would consider it a diving board or a jumping off point. It gets them in the market, gets them started, has revenue day one, and gets them something to, kind of chew their teeth on, right? It gets them something to kind of understand the business and get started, get them motivated, confidence, all of those pieces, I think, are what contribute to some of the things that make us a unicorn and get us to those numbers. It's all a contributing factor.
Well, that's a great example where you've developed business for that franchisee who's going to come into New Orleans and have a runway that they're ready to lift off on and build it to those averages. Are there any other markets like that, or?
Absolutely. So we have Salt Lake City, Utah.
Wow.
We have Detroit open. We have several in Alabama. We've got Jackson, Mississippi. We have Tyler, Longview in Texas. We have Corpus Christi in Texas. We've got Fresno in California. We've got Bakersfield in California. We have over 15 different open territories in California. So phenomenal territories in California. If those are some of the areas that people are interested in entrepreneurship, South Bend, Indiana, I think that because we've been around so long and we have such phenomenal numbers, people think that we're mostly sold out. So we do have some phenomenal opportunities that are out there.
Well, speaking of South Bend, Indiana, I'm making a presentation to my client, Citywide, who
fantastic.
That's her market. That's her
fantastic.
town.
Can't wait.
This afternoon, in fact.
Nice.
Is there anything else that you want to cover that stands out, that's unique about Citywide? And
the only other piece that I think is really important is our culture, and the mission, vision, and values for Citywide is to positively impact the communities around us. And so that's how there's several factors that go into that, where it's just having the highest level of professionalism. People, again, they think of us as a janitorial company, which is not exactly our model. We have that 20 points of entry, and we really are a total facility maintenance solution, the Advil for the property manager. So I think that that's important to always remember about our model. But we do that and are able to create that ripple effect in our communities because of the empire building capabilities. We know that once you get to those points, we want you to help those independent contractors grow. We want our franchisees to have that servant leader mindset so that they can go out and do good. We want to, as the franchisor, make sure that we're able to meet the expectations of our franchisees and have them, all of their goals and dreams fulfilled, and make sure that we're in alignment. And that's why we're so selective of the people that we bring on. We want to make sure that those expectations are aligned with what we do and what we can provide. So that's something that's important to us. And then once we get there, once you've built that empire, we raised over $500,000 at convention a few months ago for Gigi's Playhouse. That was with, as I said, under 100 franchisees. So if you kind of average that in, that's an extraordinary amount of giving that happened in one night as our franchisor. We're very, very proud of that. We're very proud of the people. And I think that when you surround yourself with people that's important to you, it does create a ripple. It does make you feel like it's something that you want to be a part of. You don't want to be left out of those amazing feelings that you get when you're giving back and you're able to participate in a charity like that, as well as on very micro everyday levels. We don't want it to just be at convention. We want it to be every morning that we're passing a smile and a compliment, and that we're committing and accountable to our promises for all of the people that we're servicing, as well as our employees, and independent contractors, all the people that are involved in Citywide. So that's just it comes from the top down, and we continue to ensure that everybody has that mindset every single day that they wake up. So we have a little pen that we all wear. That's part of the ripple effect. And so it's just a reminder for us all to make sure that we're keeping that top of mind.
Well, what you described is an incredible culture, and that just
it really is, Rick. I'm incredibly grateful and blessed to be a part of this. I've been in a part of other franchise systems and have never felt prouder, because I know that our ability to help franchisees reach their financial goals is there. And so that makes me feel great. And then also being able to be a part of something where the culture is to help others and see that action be implemented is fantastic. And I love it every single day.
So I have one more question before we move off the topic of Citywide. So now, I can see how franchisees may be more comfortable talking to the property manager, the white collar crowd. How do they gain trust with that blue collar crowd, the service provider that they want, that they can provide?
Absolutely.
Job after job.
I think that having that servant leader mindset. So if you're able to take an independent contractor that's, say, performing window washing services, and they're maybe only billing $2,000 a month. They're maybe they're not extraordinarily talented at marketing. Maybe they don't have the time to get their invoices out. There's some sort of struggle in building their business, and they are able to find one point of contact in Citywide that says, hey, I have all of this available to you, and we're going to be able to grow. And in 6 months, they see that revenue triple that they're billing Citywide. So all of a sudden, they were billing $2,000 a month, and now 6 months later, they're billing $6,000, and then maybe another 6 months they're billing $12,000, and a year and a half from then, they're able to maybe move their family into a home that they were interested in moving, and get better schools, creating the ripple. Just moving into and achieving goals together is something that's important. And I think that when you provide that and they see you keeping your promise and being accountable to them as well as the property managers, it instantly builds trust, because when people keep their promises, that's how you build trust, is actions.
So true. And that's why I love Citywide. You've built this ecosystem from end to end of culture and trust. Now, over your right shoulder, there's something red draped. Is that something to do with the NFL? I know you're a big football fan.
No, actually, those are the our construction vests.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, our home office is based. We're the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're all huge fans. During football season, you'll see most people in the office on Fridays sporting their Chiefs gear or their Swiftie gear at this point, one or the other or both. And but no, those are our Citywide contractor vests.
Oh, okay. I had to ask.
Yeah, it looks like that though from afar.
Yes, well, as you know, and I'm a big San Francisco 49er fan, so you've got bragging rights for this next.
Yes, and I did not let you forget it, nor will I. Then we're going to see each other here in a couple of months.
Yeah.
In Mexico, and we'll have to cheers to the Chiefs. I feel like you at least owe me that.
I owe you that. Yes, for that so close victory.
It was a nail biter. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, is there anything else we haven't covered that you thought we should, or?
I think we've done a great job of encompassing who Citywide is, and I'm grateful that you gave me the chance to talk about Citywide. As you know, I could yammer on all day and night about all of the fantastic things that we provide our potential franchisees as well as our current franchisees. And so can't wait to hear more about your South Bend candidate. I would love to hopefully meet them sometime here in the next week or two if they think it's a right fit. And thank you for your partnership, Rick. We're grateful that we have great consultants that we work with. can't say enough about your consultative approach that you provide potential candidates, and being able to understand if Citywide is a fit, or maybe there's a better franchise that is more cohesive to their skills, experience, all the things that they're looking for. So I think you do an awesome job of that, and you do a fantastic job of communicating and bringing the right candidates to Citywide. So I'm grateful for that and want to thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Your comments are truly welcome, and thank you very much. So, well, we'll conclude, and yes, we will see each other at our conference in a couple of months.
Okay, can't wait. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
You've been tuning into Is Franchising Right for You? With your host, Rick Morgin. You can find more episodes on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.